All that is gold does not glitter. Not all those who wander are lost. The old that is strong does not wither. Deep roots are not reached by the frost. From the ashes a fire shall be woken. A light from the shadows shall spring. Renewed shall be blade that was broken. The crownless again shall be king.
The beacon of Aberdeen is lit!
With the flame of the west and Uriel, hope is kindled like a new fire.
Greetings, bonjour. So honored and happy and excited to be a part of this this current Freedom Under Natural Law number 5. Let's get this shit fucking lit, like those beacons, right? And with the 25-year-old anniversary for Lord of the Rings, I suppose it's time for Derek, son of Richard, son of Roberto, son of Delindo, Bartolacelli, to show his quality. Oh yes, mon ami, my friends. Back at it again, and yeah, who doesn't like this story? And if they don't, who cares? But yeah, there's so much that I love about so many aspects of the whole legendarium, or the lore of Tolkien, or the whole universe that he created. What a brilliant mind. And yeah, what a time to be alive, you know, growing up and being able to see that for the first time in theaters, especially when you've read the books prior to, and you might have had some, you know, kind of queasy feelings going through it the first time, knowing, you know, the book pretty well. But as the years go on, it seems like the movie has a lot more to offer than at first glance, right? Especially with the extended edition, yada yada. I also go by Awakening Mind. Have my channel for 13 years or whatever now. Thank you for taking the time to check this out. And yeah, we're not gonna nerd out on some, you know, Nerd of the Rings fucking bullshit, alright? We're gonna get into things that might inspire you and motivate you to carry on through and persevere through whatever hardships might come your way, and leveling up and refining what is good within your skill sets, and also trying to better weaknesses and that kind of stuff. And also the speech of and way you talk and communicate with others, you know. Do you not like pay attention to that and look at the eyes of, you know, all the characters in the movies? That was like really captivating for me. But yeah, going back to good old Tolkien, because yeah, he is one incredible human being. And the lore, there's so much to talk about, and obviously I don't have a whole lot of time to get into all that. I do want to make a more lengthy video or series, or just extra videos, doesn't matter. Why do you have to label everything sometimes, you know? So anyways, you know, just think about all the whole creation of what he did, you know, like all the different races, and like all the diversity within each race and all that stuff, and the different differing languages. And Tolkien, as a linguist and lover of language himself, who's, you know, learned more than half a dozen, he created his own. You know, it seems like half a dozen of his own in this book. And he wrote poetry. You know, there's like 50 poems laden within this whole, you know, all 3 books. And maybe The Hobbit is included. I forget the stats, but who cares, you know? That's impressive, right? So yeah, the poetry, the songs, the folklore, the landscapes, the towns, the villages, the cities, all the nature and the life within the nature, and the names given to animals. And he gives a lot of significance to things that we kind of take for granted sometimes, and things that were lost of yesteryear. And one of the main reasons I love this movie so much is also because it harkens back to the kind of pre-industrial age. Ain't got to get all medieval, but yeah, obviously the movies depict that, and it's cool, right? So yeah, kind of like stirs something within past lives within me. I don't know about y'all, but I'm not going over some fan fiction bullshit in this thing. All right, so I'm gonna be drawing from the book a lot. I've been listening to the audio recordings. Those are dope, especially the version of Andy Serkis, who was the actor of Gollum and Smeagol, and also a cinematic type of audiobook that has all these cool sound effects and voices in the background, and like each character has their own distinct voice. It's fucking dope. And yeah, just listening to the way people speak and all that, it's really cool. It takes you back to how people addressed others, and like they respected their own speech to a good degree, because a lot of people were like illiterate back in the day. So yeah. So with this book, this series, and the whole legendarium, there's a lot of lineage, legacy, language, life, love, light, long bottom leaf, and much more than just Lothlorien. Going to the Gondorian, especially thinking about the Silmarillion, the Númenórean, and all the way to the end of Mordor, and plenty other stories, friend. So yeah. We're not going over allegories, right? Tolkien was not a fan. What he talked about was applicability. How his stories and his lore and all that stuff can apply to modern day, yesteryear. You know what I mean? His time. The mid, early 1900s, right? So I've applied a good amount of aspects of the story, characters, the archetypes and how they correspond to different types of, consciousness and all these things, even going over the male archetypes and the feminine ones as well. But, there's a really cool chat I did with the One Great Warriors in regards to that. And you can see how a lot of characters line up to those types of things, and even correspondences to the tarot, which I'll show later. I had to throw a little teaser to get y'all appetites a little more frisky or whatever. So, so yeah, I might sprinkle in a couple videos that I've done with others, and even my own stuff in podcasts and whatnot. So tomorrow we ride out from Minas Tirith. Come with us for Gondor.
My mind is Mr. Frodo'd out, trying to destroy that last ring of power with this motor mouth. Some know this crazy.
Yes! So, things to take away from, Tolkien's magnum opus is that his belief that aside from the Catholic fucking bullshit, like Catholicism, Christianity, all these major religions, they are paltering knowledge and truths and information that was already established well before any of these religions were created, with their false ass fucking gods and all that shit, but aside from that, Tolkien had a lot of great things. His belief that compassion, not power, reveals true strengths of character, overcoming adversity and all these things, persevering through the most toughest trials of your fucking life, right? He speaks a lot about, well, he doesn't speak about it, but it's portrayed in, about moral victories, There is objective morality in Middle Earth. As much or, probably less than this reality, There is objective morality. Get the fuck over it, There is objective truth as well. Get the fuck over it. Natural law, bitches, don't you know? And yeah, he does establish, in the Hermetica, as well as, cause and effect. There are negative or positive outcomes in regards to how you conduct yourself, behave, your thoughts, emotions, and actions, and what that leads up to, right? So it's, if you read the books, man, it's so good. So courage is encouraged, and I love that word. We did a good video about that with the One Great With Warriors. And yes, the word cœur is in it. That's a French word. I love speaking French. It has really opened up, you know, my brain to in the vocal articulation of things. It's very poetic and a little romantic, right? So, c'est la vie, les amis. But cœur means heart. And you build that courage within your heart. If you have that heart-based intelligence, right? Yeah, you want the guts too, of course. But courage is where the heart is. It's also the seat of the soul, you know? Cœur, courage, core rage. Rage against the dying of the fucking light. And Tolkien does a great job of portraying like the false cold light in regards to Melkor or Morgoth, if you will, Ungoliant, Sauron, and then Saruman that kind of fucked around and found out the hard way and all that stuff. And Balrogs and all that stuff. Yes, they have light to them. They, you know, they do have that flame and darkness, but is that it's the false cold light, like what we see with fucking archons and shit like that in our realm and universe, right? So a lot of interesting stuff going on that we can correlate and apply to, right? So no Frodo.
Let's keep it on the swords with medieval times and Lord of the Rings and all those wonderful Tolkienian things. Because yeah, we can't be smeagling the truth, right? And just ourselves and act like our subjective perspective is the truth, you know, because it ain't all caps with that shit. We have to just align our own shit with objective truth. And so I think that's why a lot of people get hung up. I think I mentioned this before. People take things too personal. And if people would just chill the fuck out a little bit more. And so with a lot of people that might have too much yang up in their thing, you know, the masculine imbalance, you know, the egg-headed over-intellect type of stuff that's not, you know, really connected to their proper intuition, right? Thinking about the classic tale of the Hobbit, you know, that, you know, people could take that book out, you know, go back to nature in a forest or on a hill and focus in on Tom Bombadil, maybe even sit under a tree, smoke some bomb and chill, and realize that he is kind of like the physical embodiment of the god or creation, if you will. And he's just like speaking in rhythm and rhyme and sound song frequency just all the time. And it's it's quite obvious that I kind of have a inspiration from that. And just thinking about that and being in that free flow of the dance of life, if you will, and you've made that trance and dance already from the programming, so you're actually living your life more authentically. And so I just love how these stories and allegories fit in so well, and we can apply them so much more to our lives and enrichen them and break free from, you know, all these mind control programmings and all these things. So yeah, that one was for the Shire, you know.
Yeah. On the real, right? And yes, I actually am on a hill. But yeah, what's up with Tom Bombadil? Not the Rings of Bloody Power version.
Yes, that's right, Pippin. Rings of Power. You remember, right?
But in the book. I'm not sourcing anything from that fucking dumbass series anyways.
What is this madness?
Shut it down! Shut them all down!
Please make it stop!
It's a shame that chapter was omitted from the Peter Jackson trilogy, Tom Bombadil. he speaks in rhyme and riddle, and he is quite a force to be reckoned with, but it doesn't act like it, and might not even know his own power, but that's aside the point. The point is that he is like the living embodiment of this everlasting theme of that sound song frequency, the music, expression of that, and having your body as that. He was just one with nature at the same time, and yeah, that's a really cool chapter. And you get into the barrow whites and all that stuff, and he has been considered a living embodiment of the actual creator, Iru Iluvatar. Some have also speculated that it was a Tolkien insert of himself, but I mean, come on, how much do people want to theorize about a fictional story and all this stuff? You know what I mean? Just, again, the main reason I'm bringing all this stuff up is because it can inspire the shit out of you, so you don't stink as much, you know? You see how that correlates? So, yeah. He is an odd fellow, for sure, but, sorry. C'est la vie, and take it for what it's worth. But, yeah, it's just, it's awesome having that concept of being able to speak in rhyme form pretty much all the time, and have certain aspects of nature and some of the supernatural take much heed to it. Like, there's a power over those things to a degree, but he's never abusing the power, you know? So anyways, another chapter that was really great and so important in the book was the scouring of the Shire, you know, in the book. Saruman did not die after falling off the Orthanc Tower in Isengard. He was Mr. Sharkey, who brought all the ruffians and stuff after the Dunedain Rangers left that area, so it was not as protected as before. And, you know, Sam's vision of the Shire going to shit, that was in the movies, actually. That's pretty much what it was. And it's a great chapter and a call to their characters, all the hobbits and stuff, and like the 4 companions, even coming back after all they've been through, and like they're mature, they're ready for it. Actually, they're not just war torn and all traumatized. Well, maybe Frodo is to a good deal, but he still has significant actions and involvements. And Gandalf left them to do their thing. It's like, hey, this is your place, you have to protect it now, you know. And you know where he left? He wanted to go talk to Tom Bombadil. Out of everything else in the world to do, it was that important. So that's why I find that really interesting character. So voila. Since I'm on a hill still, let's talk about walking for days on end with very little water and food, my friend. How many people have done that, you know? You don't just see people, you know, the Fellowship walk, you know, waltzing through fucking New Zealand in the movies for nothing, right? You know, like, especially the 3 hunters, when they ran like 40 leagues in fucking like 3 days or something like that. Anyways, how many people have put themselves to the test? How many people initiate themselves into difficult situations? And it's just to kind of test your will, test your wits, your even like discipline, and trying to, you know, remain focused and, you know, stick to the goal. You know, kind of like in the movies, they always say, you know, it's a repetitive thing that, you know, in all the great stories, you know, they had a chance to turn back, but they didn't. You know, and maybe that's the reason why those stories were told, because they didn't go back and they kept going, you know, kind of like with the great work. You have to climb up to the top of the mountain, the alchemical mountain, if you will, and get that proper gold, the golden results of your own consciousness. But, you know, there's requirements, just like with a lot of stuff. So, yeah, when was the last time you went on a fast for just like 2 days, 3 days, a week, 10 days? 3 weeks, you know? I recommend the Master Lemon Cleanse. Did a video on that. But, yeah, and also just being so vulnerable to the elements of the world. You know, the hot and the cold and all these things. When was the last time they took a shower and that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? So it's about being resilient and being able to endure way outside of your comfort zones, right? So yeah. Then you get to see what you're really made of sometimes, right? So yeah. More to it than that, but you know. Just go on a hike, man.
Put yourself on the brink of these things, or rather challenges in life. And it's more about you versus yourself and testing your limitations and getting comfortable outside of your fucking comfort zones. How many fucking people out there with the pop psychology and all this stuff and like the sheltered spirituality folks and all this shit, it's very blatantly obvious of some people that just lack fucking streetwise spirituality experiences and shit like that. And some of these motherfuckers are just like, they're in fear of having proper responsibility in the 3D fucking world. People talking about all this 5D shit and whatever the fuck and all this stuff. Or you got people bringing it back to the Lord of the Rings, talking all this wizardry Gandalf stuff or kingly stuff and trying to be like Aragorn, when these people haven't even left the fucking Shire, you know? So what the fuck? Take the fucking journey. This is the flip side of what the fuck the fool sees. You see the Mount Doom right there?
So take the quest. Now, it is time for a little bit of tarot, and yeah, this is going to be arbitrary, of course, but I have some very interesting and unique reasonings for these sequences and the patterning of characters to cards.
Sky, not knowing how to reply, just feeling, let it reside inside. I'm healing, we try to touch that ceiling and fly. We come busting. Let it go, it's happening to me. I can't believe I'm burning up inside, but there's no fire that I can see.
I'm burning up inside, but there's no fire
All right, for those curious about these trees, I gotta make haste because I got no time to waste. These are the two trees that lit up the first age of the world of Arda, if you will, when Melkor Morgoth was at large, and eventually he brought and formed an alliance, a weird one, with the the big ass spider, which was the Shelob was the offspring of Ungoliant, which was more massive than Shelob ever was. And so, long story short, Morgoth pierced these trees of life and light that lit up, the world, since there was no sun and moon or anything like that. And Ungoliant drank all the light and life force out of these trees. And it reminds me of a specific tale in regards to Norse mythology, which Tolkien, you could tell he was influenced by that and a lot of other things, way outside of religion, again. But Nidhogg, the dragon, who gnawed at the roots of Yggdrasil, which is the real tree of life, not the Kabbalistic counterfeit. All right, look at the symmetry. I've done some videos on this already a little bit. I've kind of alluded to it, and yeah, I got some rhyme and riddle to it, but in the end, people need to figure it out themselves, right? I can't assume, I'm not looking for anyone to believe anything I'm saying. You have to look into it and confirm it for yourselves, of course, right? But yeah, I found that really interesting and makes sense to me.
Enough. I am Gandalf.
All right, so I had a section going over some really interesting numerology in regards to Tolkien. You know, 333 in the place to be all day. Oh, that ought to be for another time. But it alluded to something that I got to share in this special ignition sequence of the funnel, sparking, you know, some real type of motivation and inspiration into the hearts and minds of those who might listen. With that flame of passion.
Thanks, Sparky.
You know that, you know, leaves of three, we don't always have to let them be. And not idly do the leaves of Lorien fall. And some of the symbolism of, you know, what Tolkien has with some of his, the kingdoms and some of the elf races and whatnot, they have different styles of symbols and geometric patterns. And, you know, with Lothlorien, you know, I can't stop thinking about the Triquetra, and stumbled across the poems by Anonymous or something like that. I should have grabbed the credits, but here we go. It's titled The Triquetra Flame. The eternal light that unites all realms, physical, spiritual, and cosmic. And also taking it to the Triskelion, you know, the three spirals of creation. A symbol of protection, much like a beacon guarding sacred gateways. Think of like, you know, like the Rainbow Bridge, the Bifrost. The spark of infinite consciousness, or rather eternal consciousness, within the interconnected cycles of existence. A soul's eternal journey, passing through transformation while remaining anchored in divine truth. And probably aligned to natural law, right? Here's the oath of the Triquetra. By the eye of the earth, I stand firm. I anchor into the physical realm, rooted like the ancient trees and mountains, unwavering before the storms of illusion. My foundation is truth. My body, the vessel of creation. By the eye of heaven, I see true. From the higher realms, I perceive beyond the veil. I see the web of destiny. Thinking about the Norns that weave. The patterns of the stars and the song of the cosmos. Take it back to the Ainur.
In the beginning was the word, and the word of frequency. Yes.
Through divine vision, I discern what is real from what deceives. By the eye within, I awaken. Think of the inner eye, the first eye, right? My eternal consciousness rises, connecting heaven and earth, inner and outer, form and formlessness. Ooh, that reminds me of what Mario West talks about all the time. Here lies the key to sovereignty. I am the flame, the thunder, the watch. I am the eternal fire that purifies. Think about that calcination, much. The voice of divine will, and the sentinel who stands at the threshold guarding the rainbow bridge, allowing only authentic frequencies to pass. I am legion. Think of I, Magi Nation, you know, imagination. Think about it. I am one and many, the embodiment of all my lifetimes and soul lineages. Through me flows power of the ancient orders, the emerald codes, you know, fire letter codex as well, right? And the voices of all who came before. Much respects to that quote. Yeah, what does it mean to you? Find significance, right? This is for the Shire. Traveling and truth unraveling across Middle Earth, wind and fire. Avoiding the pitfalls of devilish desire. On a hero's quest going down to the mount-doomed wire. Pushing beyond all mental, emotional, physical limits like a Maiar. That's word to Gandalf. Needing no rings or fancy things to truly inspire. Courage in the hearts of those calling upon a power that's higher. But actually, it's your eternal life force within that never tires, and is what will see you through life's hardest trials. I commune and stay attuned to the universe. That's how I conspire. That It's a way to aspire, respire, breathing in tune with, what is good, staying aligned and all that shit. Because I won't retire, because my soul's on a roll with the flame imperishable, so I won't grow tired. Especially from all the darkness that I've transpired. We gotta alchemize that shit. Let's do this shit.
Well, fun's fun. Now, couldn't we get out of here?
No! It's got to ask us another riddle, my precious.
All right, Smeagol. Riddle me this. What is good for 2026, the year of the Fire Horse, and how it is mighty fitting for this funnel conference, the ignition, the spark, the flame, right?
Thanks, Sparky.
And what is the flame imperishable? Exactly, right? That's your eternal soul, the soul spark, the spark of free will that the creator, Eru Iluvatar, gave to, its, beings of creation. And then they were co-creators, right? They had the free will to do so. But there still comes consequence when you're not aligned to cosmic law, natural law, right? When you're having a discord with the frequencies of truth and, you know what I mean? Order, the disorder, Melkor, Morgoth, right? So think of your body as that vessel, or rather the instrument. And we always have to be fine-tuning instruments, Over time, they get out of tune or you know what I mean? So things to consider with all that. So lighting the beacons of the flame imperishable is really just remembering who you are, reforging the sword, your Excalibur, your Philosopher's Stone, the seed of the soul, the heart. Have you reclaimed your eternal flame, by the way? And think of beacons like, chakras, right? Our meridians, nodes, our organs, our glands, way beyond just pineal. We have a lot more pituitary. What else? Fire letter codex, dormant DNA, the whole universe inside you, right? As above, so below. Don't you know? And we need to tend to the fires within, right? So light the beacons of that passion and compassion of life for yourself and for others. But we have to tend those fires as well. They could burn us and others, right? So what kind of legacy are you actually going to be leaving behind for others to revere, to learn from, to be inspired by, right? Where's your fellowship? Or your brotherhood, sisterhood, right? Have you done deeds worth putting into song? Or like stories of old? And like Tolkien's stories, we can draw whatever kind of thing you want to describe hope as, even if it's a fool's hope or motivation or whatever, to keep you going forward, despite no matter how dark it can get, right? Remember, there's always going to be some good worth defending in your life or others. How about yourself, for starters, right?
The greatest adventure is what lies ahead. Today and tomorrow are yet to be said.